View on the Market, a practical view of today's financial markets. Unlock the potential of your portfolio performance by maximizing your investments. Learn how mutual funds, exchange-traded funds, and real estate investments can create diversification. View on the Market starts now. This program is for educational purposes only. The opinions expressed are not intended to be and should not be considered financial advice. Viewers are encouraged to consult with their financial advisors, tax preparers, or other professional advisors to evaluate their personal circumstances.
And welcome to View on the Market. We are doing a continual series, and this is series number 2 about financial planning at the end of the year. My name is Jeff Zayas, and let's bring in our expert, Mr. Jim Dowd. Jim, how are you doing today?
Doing well, thanks, Jeff. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. So we're going to continue on our series of what we should plan for for the year end. So without too much fanfare, let's kind of go into what you think we should be doing for IRA contributions.
Okay, great. Well, we talked last time about self-employed individuals setting up online or sort of solo 401ks or SEP IRAs. But IRAs are actually available to anyone who has a job or who has earned income and their spouses, even if the spouse is not working, and even if and whether or not you have a 401k plan or 403b plan through your employer. So one of the things that we always encourage people to do at year end is to make their IRA contributions. You know, traditionally the advice that a lot of people would receive is to not bother to do the IRA contributions because they wouldn't be able to get the tax deduction. But in fact, even with a non-deductible IRA, so for an IRA contribution that you're making with after-tax funds, the benefit of that tax-deferred compounding can be quite substantial over time. So that's something that we always encourage people to do by year end or shortly thereafter if they haven't already. And if they have the funds already available, if they do have the funds available, a lot of people get paid bonuses or have other compensation coming towards the front of the year or the end of the previous year, then they can make their contribution for the next year at the same time.
And what about, can you still do Roth IRAs?
Yeah, so Roth IRAs are available to people depending on their income level. So there's a phase out. Once you get above $100,000 or so, it starts to phase out for higher income taxpayers. But there is a method to be able to make a backdoor contribution to a Roth, and that's by contributing to a non-deductible IRA and then doing Roth conversion. And so by going through that conversion process, you can actually make a contribution indirectly to a Roth account by first going through a non-deductible IRA.
Okay, and then what's the second most important thing you think we should do? I think it's update your financial plan, which is something that's in your bailiwick there, huh?
Yeah, and whether or not people have gone to a financial planner or professional to develop a financial plan, or they've developed something on their own, or maybe they just have an outline of their plan, it's always a good idea to revisit that plan at around year end, to take a look at the goals that you've established and see how you're doing relative to those goals, to see what your spending pattern looks like and what your savings rate looks like, basically to see if you're achieving the goals that you set for yourself in terms of retirement, major expenses that you may have upcoming, saving for college for your children if that's relevant. It's always a good idea to kind of take stock at least once a year, and the year end is oftentimes a good time to do that.
And what about planning for major expenses or something along those lines?
Well, usually, if there's a major expense that someone knows about, if it's planning to purchase a house or planning for retirement or planning for education, then that's something that you're likely have been budgeting for some period of time. And so what we like to do at the end of the year is see how you're doing against that budget, how you're doing against those goals. And so typically, what we advise people to do is to set aside a certain amount every month or every year, every quarter, whatever you're comfortable with, to kind of meet that goal. And then we can do sort of a checkup at year end to see, whether or not the savings rate is working according to plan, and then also how well of investments, kind of benefited that balance to help grow the pot.
Now, say if you're working with a financial planner or something, wouldn't they, and they're managing your portfolio, they would give you either monthly or quarterly statements of where you're standing. Say in your profession or your business, how often do you actually meet with your clients?
That's a good question. It depends on the client. We try to have pretty much of an ongoing dialogue throughout the year with most of our clients. But the reality is for most people, once a year at a minimum, and sort of once a quarter at the outside, tends to be what people are most interested in trying to do with us. So what we do from a reporting standpoint is a pretty regular updating on kind of the investment side of the equation, on sort of how the investments are doing and what the performance has been. But really, there's a kind of a closing of the loop that needs to take place to kind of bring that back to the financial plan and the client's needs and goals. And that's something that doesn't happen every month, and that's why it's really important to kind of sit down and make an effort to kind of tie together the results against the plan, because the results are only kind of one side of it. Sometimes the plans change and the needs change, and it's important to kind of update those needs as necessary.
So let's say that it's next year, it's April. Okay, you're meeting with your tax accountant, and he goes, hey, you left so much money on the table. Is that a good time to kind of sit down with the financial planner and say, let's look at our asset allocation, what we should be doing, or should we do that, say at the end of the year and then, in April? Or
Yeah, so there's really no particular set time to be able to do that. I mean, and that's really kind of, we distinguish between sort of the investment plan and the financial plan. The financial plan is really considering all of the things about your finances that that are all but the actual investment portfolio. And then what you're talking about is really a kind of another important factor to consider at least once a year, which is to make sure that your investment plan is in line with the needs and goals and risk tolerance that you've established through that financial planning process. And that really is kind of something that either you should work through with your financial advisor, or educate yourself about the various factors of your investment portfolio that should be considered. So what we often try to do is say, look at all of the kind of the major factors of your investment portfolio, asset allocation and diversification, looking at asset location to make sure that your investments are in the right types of accounts, making sure that you have kind of covered all of the major and minor asset classes, reviewing individual funds that you're invested in to see how they're doing relative to their targets, and also examining fees, which is kind of a whole other topic that I think we'll cover in a future session.
and so this would be, and also retirement planning would be part of this, target goal, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, whether you look at that in the financial planning process or in the investment review process, they really at some point come together, right? Because what we really want to try to do is make sure that the financial plan is appropriate given where our clients are, or if you're doing a self-assessment, making sure that your plan is realistic given your goals and your needs. And then on the investment side, making sure that the investments are appropriate to achieve the investment objectives that are kind of embedded within that plan and that goal setting.
One thing one peace of mind is to actually go through that process, so if you're actually on target to retire, because a lot of people don't realize how that can, how well off they are. They look at it and they think that they need $5 million to retire or something like that. And in actuality, that number is way less. And once you sit down with somebody and kind of plan it out and you go through the actual numbers in a dispassionate kind of way, that can really help.
No, I totally agree with that. And really what we find, I mean, that with most of the financial reviews that we do, is it becomes a very empowering experience for, the person that's actually getting the review because they, whether or not it's good news or bad news in terms of how much savings they have and what their needs are likely to be over time, just going through the process of articulating what those needs are and quantifying the requirements is helpful in terms of then goal setting and people understand, okay, well, I need to save a little bit more in order to achieve this type of lifestyle in retirement, or geez, I'm actually saving enough and I don't need to be stressed out all the time about whether or not I'm spending too much. And so whether it's one way or the other, I think it's very empowering for people to understand kind of what are the main drivers of whether or not they'll have enough money in retirement.
Exactly, and that's why I was able to keep some of my hair. So, well, Jim, thank you so much for your time again, and we'll finish this off in another series and another interview. So, again, this is Jim Dowd with North Capital Inc. and View on the Market. So we'll see you later. Take care.
Thanks very much, Jeff.